It's good to be here among family. It really is. And I say that in all authenticity because of what got me to understand just who we are in Minnesota, right? And and it's nice. Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you.
And Layla, thank you for your leadership that's going on here. It's one of those moments that you say to yourself, so why are we here? Why are we doing what we're doing? And why we're here was absolutely hit on me today. A lit piece went out. Some of those that live in Coon Rapids, Champlin, Brooklyn Park, Dayton, Rogers would have probably seen the lit piece. And at first glance at it, you say, all right. Another slammed lit piece against me because it said your cost, Hoffman is costing you, right? And it was a financial thing. Hoffman is costing you, there was the word arm and a leg and both, right? So what? That's ableism. In and of itself, that's a long way and a wrong way to try to get your point across. But it became personal because my own daughter is a limb loss person. She's an amputee. So it was like somebody took a knife and just shot it right through me. Not only me, but my wife saw that, right? So why are we here? It's because there's people out there who don't care about you and that they only want to get the narrative of negative that's there. And what I'm saying is we got to look beyond that negative side. Yeah, it affected me. It absolutely affected me because it became personal. What am I going to do with that personal thing? Number one, insulate that negative piece from my daughter. But I can't do that. We can't be insulating ourselves. But the fact is there are people out there that absolutely think that way, that it's okay to say to you, oh, well, you're costing me an arm and a leg, not knowing my reality or my lived experience, right? That's wrong. So why am I here was challenged today. And there's such an influx of, wow, I'm here because that challenge, and it's hurtful, right? But it also drives me to why I'm here and why we're here, right? Why are we here? Why are we here in St. Paul, right? When we should be out doing whatever we're doing. But that's what's going to happen after this, to do what we're doing. And I say to yourself, listen to that. You see how frustrated, look at what happens when you get flustered about what's going on. You just kind of lose it. But the fact is you can turn that into some kind of comedy. So I said to myself, self, here we go. Don't let that, what other people try to control you. You can only control you, right? The 3 C's. Did I cause it? Did I create it? Can I control it? And in this case, no, I can't control it, but I can sure change the optic of how am I going to respond. And the only way I'm going to respond is to beat the other team this year, and that's where you come in. That's where you come in. Why is that important? And why do I stand up here now? Is because I stand up now in front of you the way I've stood in front of you since 2014 when this was given to me as a gift. Do you see what this is? This is not just something that somebody takes for granted. I saw people out in front of the Capitol spending the weekend sleeping in the shivering cold to bring light of the fact that there were human rights violations happening in the state, their country where they came from, right? What is that? Why am I here? Because those individuals that were protesting peacefully and protesting to get a point across is the same reason why we're here today, right? And the same reason why if somebody put out a bad lit piece on me, I need to be that person that's going to say, no, I'm not going to put up with this, right? We aren't going to put up with that. We value our rights in Minnesota. And why is this flag important to me? Because of that. It reminds me of my grandfather who came from Odessa. Right now, Odessa is being obliterated as we speak. Well, it was that way in 1914, right? And he never told the story because he saw his younger sister die. He saw his relatives die, right? He never told that story. And now here I am, an old man, and I can't recall the story, but I just remember him always sitting at the kitchen table, sipping on a little bit of juice, and he would say, I'm remembering. And that's all he would say to me, I'm remembering. And would never talk about it. What I was told by Lubavitch was that literally they came over and they took their wigs and they threw them in the ocean and they said, we are never going to remember where we came from. We're only going to focus on where we're going. I don't like that. You need to remember where you came from because it defines what you're going to be doing going forward, right? You need to remember where you're at, where you came from. You need to remember those because that's going to define where you're going. And you want to make sure one thing happens. The things that were bad about where you came from and the things that were bad about our history, our lived experiences, we have to say we're never going to make that happen in Minnesota. That's why we're here. That's why this election is so important. Keith is in the battle of his lifetime. Tim is in the battle of his lifetime. I am now in the battle of my lifetime. Tashidi Wako's in the battle of his lifetime. To be the first person to represent our community in Brooklyn Park. Those are real grassroots efforts. What are we doing to say, all right, I can't get out and door knock. Fine. Can I make some phone calls? Yeah. Do I know somebody who knows? It's the rule. You know what's that? Who's that actor? The rule of six. Thank you, Kevin Bacon. It's the rule of 6, right? 7. All right, I stand correct. Thank you very much. So you know who Kevin Bacon is then? The rule of 7, right? Is that what it is? I love it. Thank you guys for hanging with me. Do you know somebody who knows 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 somebody, right? There's 7 people right there that you could get to vote. You know somebody that say, because it's important, the last time we had an election in Brooklyn Park was a special election, and the mayor, our friend, 2 votes. We all know 2 people who didn't go show up to vote from Brooklyn Park. We can't let that happen this time because if we let that happen, I'm not coming back, Tim's not coming back, Hollis isn't going to be the mayor, and Keith isn't coming back, and Steve's not coming back, and Julie Blaha's not coming back. Why are we here? Because we want to make sure that that doesn't happen. Does that make sense? Now, you guys are used to me ranting and raving and jumping and hollering, right? That's not why I'm here. I'm a little bit settled right now because of the fact that this is so important to us. But I'm never going to forget those 85 students who were sitting out there peacefully protesting and they were told no and they were actually shot. And that's not okay. And the other thing I'm not going to forget is this. You know what today marks? 20 years. Do you know what else today marks? 4 years ago this evening, 4 years ago today, this evening, Dr. Absa Hassan and Tashidi Wako did a fundraiser for Keith Ellison in Columbia Heights. So remind him that when he comes here. Remind him that. Remind him that we are here because we need to be here, and he needs us to be here. I need you to be here. But more importantly, like our Fossey said, I need you to get out there and get your friends to go out and vote. And to whether or not, if you want to text, if you want to make phone calls, if you just want to gather up your friends and family and say, let's go vote, do it. Something like that's got to happen. Does that make sense to you guys? Is that something you can do? That's not happening. I want to keep this flag. I want to keep this flag as your senator. I still want to be your senator. So you know what? Go help me get reelected. Go help Keith get reelected. Let's get people reelected. Let's get people elected. Does that make sense? Yes. Do what you can. Thank you.
Thank you, John. John, you all know, Oromo nin beektu. Yeroo namni tokko siriira ba'uun waliin bahaa ture, bahaas jira. Warri kaan immoo inumaatu xalayaatti barreessanii arrabsanii warra terroristii waliin dhaabbattaa alaabaa kana maaliif qabattee dhaabbattaa jedhanii xalayaa baay'eellee itti arganii dhihooma kana jala isatti roorrisaa turanii. So akka Oromootti ogumaanuu nama naannoo sana jiraatu nullee yoo hin jiraanne nama yaadachiifne akkuma inni jedhe sagaleen tokko isa miidhuu danda'a. Namni keenya ittiin fakkaatu malee daqiiqaa 5 deemanii kan sagalee kennuurraa kaafaniit kan namni sagalee dhabee ofiisa sana keessa hafeetu jira. Kanaafuu sagaleen keenya akka biyya keenyatti sagalee sarbamnee haasa'uu dadhabnee mirga keenya sarbamne sana asitti kan qabnu kana garuu itti fayyadamuu danda'uu qabna. Kanaasitti fayyadamnee ka biyyaalee falmachuu dandeenya.
So kanafi bakka beekamutti namoota naannoo jiran keessattuu naannoo inni jiru isa qofaa miti tashiteen illee naannoo sanatti fiigaa jira. Affeerranii haadhallee waamnee turre garuu hin dandeenye kaampaanii adda addaa qabatanii dhufuu hin dandeenye. Bakka jirutti namni akkasaa hamma dandeenye for the next week or two jala deemnee namni kun achi keessaa hafuu jechuun nu akka waan guddaa keessaa dhabneetti arguu qabdu. Dhugumaan this is so personal. Inni akka wanta jedhuuf miti garuu nama yeroo dheeraatti akka Oromootti nu cinaa dhaabbatee jiru kana maqaa keenyaan sagalee sana keessa bakka sana keessa bahuu hin qabu itti sheenuu hin qabu. So we have to do what we can do. John, thank you. We're just saying that we will always be with you and we will be there. Anything we can. Kana jennee nuti duratti illee afaan seenis hundi keenya jedhaa turre nuti akka Oromootti siyaasaa biyya kana keessa hin jiru. Dadhabnee miti. Garuu wanti biyya keessatti deemaa jirus baay'ee nu dhibaa. Nu aarsaa. Garuu jireenyi keenya immoo as. Yoo asitti jabaanne, yoo ilmaan keenya guddisuu dandeenye, asiilee nullee sammuun keenya jabaatee itti yaadnee qabiyyaallee gargaaruu dandeenya. Bakka lamatti dhabuu hin qabnu. Anything that happens here, especially policy amma deemos keessatti ilmaan itti guddifnu kan karaa seeraatiin jira, karaa fayyaatiin jira. Waan baay'ee keessatti nutti dhaga'amu malee nu laallata wanti as keessa deemu kun. Yommuu nu jabaannee eenyummaa keenya agarsiisuu dandeenya. Nu hin jiru yeroo hundumaa warra Somaaleetu maqaa keenya waan hundumaa bahu. Dhugaan jiru kan bakka hundumaa deemanii East Afrikaa nuti jalaa qabnee jirra maqaan keenya achi keessa hin jiru. Maaliif kun nutu jira jennee gadi bahuu dhabne. Nu jirra. Beekumsa yoo ta'e jalaa gadi taanee dandeettii yoo ta'e jalaa gadi taanee garuu gadi baanee nullee jirra nu ofiin dhaabbachuu dandeenya jennu kana. Oh, sorry guys. Here we go. We have our guests watching it.
So here is our attorney general, Madison. Thank you so much for being here. Without further ado, I will hand over to him.
Hello, everybody. All the best greetings to everyone. To the Christians, I want to say thank you for having me here. To the Muslims, I say assalamu alaikum. But to everyone, I want to say it's an honor to be here. And it's been great to work with the Oromo community over the years. It's not new. We're working together. You all will remember coming to Washington. You will remember working together to try to build greater democracy, human rights in Ethiopia. You all know very well that this is a project that we are committed to for a lifetime. But today, what we have is an election with Buckley Pilots that are England. You know them well. Good to see you. Good to see you. And it's an honor for me to give a hand for ourselves to you. But today we have an election in front of us, and it's only 13 days and a few hours away. 13 days and a few hours away. And I want to tell you, the Oromo community will make a big difference. And I know some of you might think, well, you know, we are a new American community. There's not a lot of us yet, but there's a lot. There's a lot. There's literally thousands, if you know that, right? I've been to the Target arena when it was absolutely full, and it was packed with no seats. So there's literally thousands. And with the leaders that are in the room now, I believe that you are able to be in touch with those thousands. And right now, we need you to access those thousands. Many but then don't know what's going on and they don't know the issues, but you know. And when you take the knowledge that you have and to share it and to get the folks to be able to vote now. Why? Because their voice is their vote. Because they have a right to have a say so in what they do. Because if you live under the laws of government, that government should reflect your opinion and what you think should happen. And there should be candidates in office who have the ear of the community and will listen to the community. So when there is a problem, the community can say, hey, this is an issue, and we need you to deal with it. That's the way it's supposed to work. That's the way it should work. So I'm asking for your support. I hope you all will consider giving me your support. Let me tell you this, there's a few issues that I'm working on, and I want you to know about it. But I'm also hoping that we can spend a little time tonight. You educated me on some of the current issues. Because I don't know anything. I know I listen to my friend Beirut. She tells me her ideas sometimes, but you know, I want to hear from him. So let me tell you one of the things, some of the things that are at stake right here in this. One of the things that's at stake is the Attorney General's office. That's the office I hold. You may not know what the Attorney General's office does, or you may know what it is, but I'll just go over it. The Attorney General is the people's lawyer. The Attorney General represents the state agencies. So there's about 100 boards, commissions, and agencies. I represent those. And then the Attorney General represents the people of the state of Minnesota when they are victims of some sort of a fraud, some sort of a ripoff, some sort of a unfairness in the economy. We will sue on their behalf. And so, for example, just today, there was a company that hired a lot of workers, and they were not paying people on time, and they were not paying people what they promised. And so, when the Department of Labor and Industry went to try to investigate, the company blocked the Department of Labor and Industry from investigating. So the Attorney General filed a lawsuit against them. That happened just this morning. So that's an example. We will sue on behalf of people who are victims of wage theft. You know, just the other day, a lady came to me and she said to me, look, you know, my employer didn't give me 7 checks in a row. It was thousands of dollars that they owed me. And she filed a claim with our office and we got her money back. And these are folks, these folks, and sometimes these are folks who work really hard. Some of them are people who are cleaners. Some of them work in the healthcare area. Some of them do security work. But they work some of the tough jobs. And so they need somebody to stand with them and be there with them to advocate for them in these tough situations. And then there's other situations where there's frauds that happen. There was a case recently where somebody was trying to get solar panels on their house. And the person who came to them to sell them solar panels says to them, give us this amount of money and we'll put the panels up. Well, the people gave the money, but the panels never came. So what we found out is that they were ripping off a lot of people. So we went and we investigated and we sued 4 companies for those scams. But whether it's paid or whether it's people working some kind of a scam or whatever it is, you can always call your Attorney General's office so that we can fight for and make sure that you get your rights met. The other thing we do is we stand up for people's rights. So if you're a victim of discrimination, you're a victim of unfairness on the job, the Attorney General's office will represent the Department of Human Rights and represent you to make sure that you're treated fairness and you're not denied an opportunity based on your race, based on your national origin, based on your religion. You all remember when Trump was in and we had the Muslim ban? Anybody remember that? Well, we sued the federal government based on that. many didn't change that. So those are this is the kind of things that we do all the time. We're fighting on behalf of the people, making sure people get their rights, make sure people get their pocketbooks, making sure people get their get their safety. Because that's another thing that we do. Recently, we've done a number of things on safety. But safety, I want you to think about it more than just prosecuting a crime. You know, there's 87 counties in Minnesota. You know that, right? 87 counties. And all of us, we all elect a county attorney in every county. Though there's John Choi's a county here, Mike Freeman's a county in Hennepin. There's going to be an election in Hennepin. There'll be but each county elects their own. But sometimes the county prosecutor doesn't have enough people or enough expertise to do the case. So in those cases, they can ask us to do it, and we do it. You may wonder, how, Keith, did you end up with the Derek Chauvin matter? Well, the way we ended up with the Derek Chauvin matter is that Mike Freeman in Hennepin County called me and asked me to partner with him on the case. Because he said, look, people are protesting, they're upset. They don't know if this case is going to be vigorously prosecuted, because so often when a person of color is killed by a member of law enforcement, nothing happens. So we want to know, is this case going to be dealt with in a good faith way? And they have doubts about whether I would do it. So he said, look, he said, Keith, would you do it with me? And I said, yeah, I'll do it with you. And then that Sunday, the governor said, I'm going to make you the head prosecutor in this case. But in that situation, I was asked to come in. But I've been asked to come in many times over the course of the last several years in Minnesota. We've done cases in places like Bennington County, like Aiken County, Todd County, Carlton County, all these rural areas where there's only one or two prosecutors there. But we've done cases here in the city where the prosecutor needs somebody who is independent and objective to look at the case. So that's what we've been doing. We've been doing those cases, and that's why we get involved in Hennepin County and Ramsey County. But we work on public safety all the time. We work on opioids. We sue the large opioid manufacturers to bring money so people can get treatment. People can get prevention. People can get alternatives, so make sure that they can get chemically well. I know that in a lot of communities, this scourge of fentanyl claim the lives of many people. And the money that we're bringing back is providing treatment so those people can be free of that addiction. And then we also have filed a lawsuit against the owner of Fleet Farm because they have been negligently selling guns. They've been negligently selling guns. And so you all know over on West 7th in St. Paul, there was a mass shooting about a year ago. You know about that? And about 14 people were shot, one person was killed. And we find that one of the guns from it was one of these guns that was sold by this person who bought 37 guns from Fleet Farm. 37 guns. And when the police went to the man's house to find the guns, there were no guns. You know why? He sold them. And he sold, so there's something called a straw purchaser. You're supposed to be, when you buy a gun, you're supposed to have no criminal record, and you're supposed to be a person of proper character to buy that gun. And if you buy that gun, that's your gun. You're not supposed to sell that gun unless you got a license to sell that gun. But this guy would buy 37 guns and then would sell them on the street. And one of them ended up in murder and then a mass shooting. And one of them ended up found in the street by a little kid. These guns, there's too many guns out there. And we got to get these guns up off the street. So that's another thing we're doing in the area of public safety. And then, of course, we're working on housing. So when we talk about public safety, we believe that it's more than just criminal prosecution. It's chemical health, going after the drug people, stopping the guns, and it's also housing. My office has done a lot to hold landlords accountable. So we have a whole housing project. And if you need help with your landlord, you can call our office and we will hold that landlord accountable. So, for example, in Minneapolis, North Minneapolis, there was 260-some families who were living in very bad squalid conditions. Very bad squalid conditions. And they came to my office and said, look, whenever we file complaints, Nothing ever happens with the city. And the city would say, look, we're trying to make this man do the right thing, but we can't make him do it. So what I did is I sued on behalf of those 267 families. And those families, we got that person found to be responsible and then had to pay literally millions of dollars to move people to a better place or to upgrade the properties that they were in. And we have done housing cases like that in Northfield, in Worthington, in Minneapolis, and we'll do more. What I'd like you to know is we need you to call us. If you call us, we'll help. If you call us, we'll step up and make a difference. But that's why I'm doing here, to let you know that we need you to be involved in this election. My opponent is a fellow who's never been to court, never prosecuted anyone, never ran an organization like the Attorney General's office, never has done anything to qualify him for this job. He's a very conservative guy who believes that rich people don't have enough money and everybody else has way too much. He won't be on the side of workers. He won't be on the side of consumers. He won't be on the side of the ordinary people. In fact, during the pandemic, there was this company who sold their eggs for 4 times the normal price within a few weeks. They increased the price of the eggs ×4 within weeks. We said this is price gouging. And we took it to court. But we didn't ask for any money. All we did is said, you have to give 1 million eggs to food shops so people can have food. And my opponent attacked me for this and said, you're harassing companies. Well, I'm not harassing companies. I like companies. Companies that are honest, companies that are fair, companies that do the right thing. But if one company says, hey, I can get away with charging people a lot more, then that's not going to be okay. So that's my job. So that's what I want to tell you all tonight. I hope I can get your support. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have tonight. My name is Keith Ellison, and I ask you for your vote.